Jonathan, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
I'm just going to call you John, okay? We'll call you John. So, and we'll leave it there.
Yeah, that is perfectly good for me.
Well, also, what else I'm going to do is I'm just going to put up the parameters, of course, that we had spoken about to make sure, you know, I don't sort of breach any of those parameters, so we can just have a nice chat. I'm not going to go into great detail about the audit, but there is certain things that we want to ask, because of course there are plenty of people who don't quite understand what the audit consists of. They don't know what the process is. So could you just briefly tell us what the process is of writing an audit report?
Sure. So I don't, when it comes to writing an audit, so basically I do work in a government sector myself, and I do also conduct audits as a profession. And there's two separate different audits, depending on which institution you are in.
Yeah.
The first one, deals with more of the site visit, to make sure everything that is reported on the financials match up. And then the second part is a financial audit. Right. When I say match up, that means that any single assets that we're given or provided to the auditor, they record those assets, and then after that you basically match them up with the financials. And so anything that would stay, just like example, you may say, we purchased a vehicle for the business at this X amount of dollars, and we want to see that it is that kind of vehicle based on the receipt that you provided, and match them up with the expenses, which you either propose to a specific grantor, opposed to a specific investor, or even for business purposes. So those are the different levels that we are speaking of when we talk about the audits that I work within my institution. Now, other sectors may have a different ways of doing audit, but for the time frame in which the audit was requested to me, I didn't really have enough time to come up with. I did have a bit of time, but not as much as I wished I had, because of the crisis at that specific moment.
Naturally. Is the process different in the Gambia? How does it differ from where you normally work, or do you? I mean, I didn't want to start talking about your location, but let's say I had an audit back in the United Kingdom. An independent audit is done by the government. We don't have a choice. It's like they come in and say, we're doing one, and whether you like it or not. So how do you clarify what is an independent audit? Sorry. Yeah.
So, based on my experience, you can either, request for an independent audit from a different corporation, or if you are within an institution, let's say an educational institution, or a government sector, or whatever corporate institution, whoever you are responsible to, they may, depending on what scope of services and what agreement you guys may have had, most of them require about probably 80 to 90% of them require an audit within a specific time frame. I know with my line of work, I monitor about 5 or actually 6 different cities or municipalities, and based on each of the scope of services, we monitor or we audit, their programs twice a year. So in terms of the Gambia, that's not my jurisdiction. I do live in the U.S., so I use my expertise to conduct an audit for a company, but also emphasize the need of an external audit that specifically dealt with investment or investors. Just because of, like I said, it's the crime situation.
It's a difficult situation indeed that you've been brought into, and of course it's an ongoing situation. Did you manage to finish what you had gone in to do? Did you manage to finish your report?
I finished the audit that I conducted. It was not a conclusive audit, just because I wanted to make sure I let everybody know and make sure we're clear that I was also an investor within Invest Relocate Africa. And I knew that it wouldn't be wise to conclude an audit without an extra an external auditor that was outside the reach of Invest Relocate Africa, either through any type of connection. So I made it specifically clear that an external, somebody outside of that, will be needed to have mostly a conclusive audit. My job, my role was, when the party reached out to me and showed some of their concern, I took this at hand to basically stop the bleeding and collect all the relevant information during that time to basically kind of get a sense of idea of what was going on within the organization. So, that was my job. Now, this is not paid. I was not paid. This is all volunteer. This is all pro bono.
Okay.
So I just, I felt the need of, because of the goal of what we're trying to reach as a fellow Africans, within, as a diaspora, and, trying to create businesses or have the future in the continent. I felt that it was important that we have some form of accountability. And I knew from the get-go that there wasn't like a structure for accountability. I knew that from the beginning, but I just did not know how deep it was going. So I just decided to, to take head on this and basically say, let me review what's going on, but there will be, and I knew that in mind, that there will be an external audit afterwards, just because of what I found. But at the same time, I think that was right that I put that in the documentation that, this will be needed after this audit is complete.
Okay. In all fairness, of course, if you are an investor as well, I can see the reason why there would be sort of a conflict of interests, so to speak. But the numbers,
yes,
the numbers must have spoken something to you. Could you brief us on what the numbers sort of? I know you can't give us a yes or a no, but could you perhaps tell us whether these numbers were coming back as having an anomaly inside the accounts, or whether everything was sort of all good, all green, all good to go? The numbers must have told you something, right?
Yeah, I spoke to my CPA, and after further analysis, from his own conclusion, that the numbers did not seem right. That expenses in which were recorded and submitted to us for the audit didn't really match up with the funds that were provided.
Were they down?
From the investors and for this. Excuse me?
Were the numbers down? Was there an imbalance of the numbers, you're saying? There was an imbalance of the checking books. There was...
Yes, there were imbalances.
Okay.
there was imbalances, and mind you, I've done this line of work for several years now, and I always make sure that I look at overall contracts, not only contracts but also look at the assets from the company itself, and basically record each unit and each prices from these assets, and basically when I get done, when that is finalized, then I look at the numbers in which investors or grantors, let's just say, for speak, pay up or send their money to the specific program or agency. So within that line, that you have to kind of make those calculations from when the inception of the business was formed, when the agreed upon date of services, if the services were delivered on time, if the services were actually done in a quality way, and also ensure that making sure that all salaries also match up as well. So when we reviewed all of that and look at the numbers, there were some deficiencies from. They just said there were some deficiencies. I would say that, and the reason why, like I said, I'm preventing myself to talk too much of this because we do need an external person to kind of verify those numbers as well.
Well, I think it's very noble for you to have come out and just put your hands on the table, and I think it's very professional for you to do that, because what I find strange is that you have the Exodus Alliance at this present moment, who are essentially outsourcing, and I say that with inverted commas, outsourcing and also conducting their own. And they said it's external, but I believe it's internal audit of the books, and they haven't completed their external their audit. But let me ask you this from your own professional point of view. The Exodus Alliance are not conducting this audit, but they are using their own attorneys to conduct the audit. Could you call that audit an independent audit if the Exodus Alliance knows the people personally knows the people who are being audited, inspected? Yeah. So is that possible? Could you still call that an external audit then?
I have a very different view of that. I'm trying to watch myself for that answer. To be honest, I don't know the relationship with. I watched this yesterday. Was the first time watching that interview that you with Exodus and that Alliance, and I was a bit disappointed with how the interview went. But hey, that's mine.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, clearly, what they were trying to do was to discredit me. But I kind of knew that they weren't going to come out with answers themselves. Of course, they haven't finished their own audit yet, so why would they come out with answers anyway? I think it was perhaps just a bit of damage control from their point of view. But I'm going to do a deep analysis into that interview anyway. But what I would... Yeah. Go on. Yeah, sorry, finish what you were saying.
Yeah, I guess the question that you asked was, what... I guess the question you asked was whether you consider that as external audit. The reason I cannot give you an answer to that because I don't know each person's relationship. I know that you provided, your evidence but I just, I just cannot comment on that. On that part. I just cannot comment on
I understand that. I mean,
and I would say to you that we have had our conversation with the Exodus Alliance, and let's just say that I'll just keep it as that. Okay.
Yeah. That's understandable. That's understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you don't want to go into deep into the Exodus Alliance, but they are already deep in this, and at the end of the day, when you, in your own professional opinion, once again, when somebody requests an audit, does that company, the company that requests the audit, I'm trying to put this in another way so we can sort of get around this. Okay, let's say for instance,
I know it's difficult, but
yeah, let's say for instance you had a conversation with a person. It didn't have to be a deep conversation whatsoever. I mean, does that impact whether you should be able to audit that person's company or not?
In my professional career, I think I've experienced this from different angle. Not myself, but my colleague. It depends on the type of relationship that they have. If it's not a working relationship, and if it's and I will always say that there is always a need of self-disclosure. Who are the player makers in the audit?
Yeah.
Right. Basically, who's conducting the audit, which agency, and leadership within that agency. So basically, a full self-disclosure. That's why in my audit, I put that disclosure of who I was, right, so that the reader can actually get a better understanding of from that perspective of that auditor. But sometimes it is, especially with the limited resources that the community has. I can also understand. I believe that this community are trying to. I guess that we are trying to expand on, businesses, the logistics, structure, like operation, and and from the auditing perspective, I don't believe that there is too much of that from the community that we serve. But I think that a full disclosure should be always made. And if the requesting party feel that I don't think that there will be an objective conclusion from the audit, then they can always ask somebody else to do that. But my viewpoint has always been I know that there was some concern in terms of the type of relationship that the agency had with the other party, and like I said, I can't really comment on that just because I don't know that type of relationship. I've seen a video, but I don't know that type of relationship, and it could have just been like it could have been a modest relationship with, like, what, we are here working on the same goals, and probably that was about it, right? But I believe that a full disclosure of that part, I think that will kind of have a sense of, I think it's respectful, for those who are seeking for the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that's. I think that I think at least having that kind of disclosure, I think will be respectful for all parties.
Okay.
So,
I'm trying to think.
I think that at the end of the day, we are very limited. I'm sorry, Sebastian.
Yeah. No. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I think, like I said, my final statement to this is that I believe that, this is a small community. This is more like you can say a startup. And there's always some gains and some losses, right? And I think that if you're in a leadership position, it's always being able to accept, some losses at times, and being able to be full disclosure and be humble, enough to, recognize that, hey, there are some things that there's some missteps here and there. But that's the beautiful part of creating a business or a community, is being able to show the clients or the people that you're serving, your character, and the character really matters, right, at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I believe always in the full disclosure in anything that you do.
Yeah.
And if investors feels like, I don't think this is either a competent auditor or somebody that needs audit, they can always seek for other opinion.
Okay. That sounds reasonable. Let me ask you another question in your professional, because of course I respect your professional point of view on this. In America, you have, I think is it the FCA or the FCT, the financial, the government section, which basically checks over all the finances. It's the government arm that takes care of FCC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Does the Gambia have their own sort of FCC, or do you know whether they do?
To be honest, I'm not familiar with that. I'm not familiar with the Gambia SEC. They do have that, but I'm pretty sure that they're probably an agency that deal with financial issues, or whatever activities from the financial sector. But I just cannot really comment on that.
Understand.
Just because I think that. Like I said, my job was basically to report based on what I saw, and whoever wants to take that report to whatever agency, that they can take care of from there. I think I had a very limited scope of what I could do.
Okay. Let me just ask you this. I'm not even sure whether you'll be able to answer this one. But the FCC in the United States,
Sure.
Do they deal with cross-border financial crimes? So let's say if somebody sends money to England or to Nigeria from the United States of America, or if they are sending that money from the United States of America to an American, let's say in India or in Australia, where do you think they have jurisdiction? Are they still able to, is the crime still seen as being a crime that the FCC can deal with, because the person that they're sending it to is American, the person that's sending it is American, and they're sending it from the United States of America? Let me ask you that,
So I work, like I said, I work for the local government. So in terms of the federal government, it's an area that I'm not really an expert on. But I do know that there are different agencies like the FBI and the FCC. They do work together as well when it comes to the financial crimes, and even the international compliance associations. There's also that agency that I'm aware about. So there are different channels, but I believe that the relationship that you may have with, possibly even the embassy, right? The embassy can fasten up the process if it needs to be. So I think that sometimes these channels are slow. Sometimes these channels are fast. Depends on, number one, who you are. And how well you are connected, and also look at how much the money is, right? How much the issue with financials are, and the impact they has perhaps an individual, or impact they may have perhaps with a well-known agency or organization or company. So it depends, like I said, depends on who you are, but they are that agency, and I'm not really familiar with. I know the CPA that I work with, he's more familiar with that, so he'd be probably the best person
No. No. It looks like we have lost it looks like we've lost him, unfortunately. But I wanted to go over, bear me 1 second. I wanted to go over some of the things which he was talking about. So he said, he spoke about the importance of clarifying your relationship with whoever is asking for the audit, of course. He says that this is quite important and quite respectful. And of course it can infringe on the integrity of the report itself. Now, if you don't know the relationship between these two parties, or even if there was a relationship between two parties, that can of course compromise the audit overall in the future. What else he was saying is that, he doesn't really know about the FCC's jurisdiction outside of America, but let's face it, everyone in this party who's dealing with this, they're all American. Okay? So, whether or not geographically it's in their jurisdiction, they can, of course, prosecute whoever is involved once they return to the United States of America. And America as a country is a magnet. People don't tend to like to stay away from America permanently. So now, what else was he saying? Unfortunately, I cannot believe I've lost him. It says an unknown error occurred. Okay, so that is most unfortunate, but he couldn't really speak much about the Alliance, the Exodus Alliance. He couldn't speak much about them, and for obvious reason. He said that he was also an investor. So he came out with it straight away. He said, hey, I'm an investor. I invested money in this. And so his hands are clean, but he's unable to give a conclusive report. Unable to give a conclusive report simply because he knows the party. He has something to do with it. However, he said that there was anomalies in the numbers. Okay, there was an imbalance. He couldn't go into by detail, right? Unfortunately, but he did say that there was an imbalance, an anomaly in the numbers. And I wouldn't say that those numbers came back, that there was way more money inside there than what they spent. Of course, it's highly likely that the money that they have is much less than the money that they had coming in, and that there is money that is missing, not so much money there, more money there than what's supposed to be there. Of course, that would be a nice situation to be in, wouldn't it? Okay, so it's just a shame that I was unable to ask him all these questions, because you guys sent me a load of questions to ask the guys from yesterday, from the Exodus Alliance yesterday. Unfortunately, it became a bit silly, didn't it, the interview, and it was quite embarrassing, to be honest with you. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. You got a multinational conglomerate of these organizations that span the Pan-African movement. You have all of these big hitters coming together, and someone who's a YouTuber is calling them out, and they're panicked. They had to do something about this. So what did they do? They called me on a radio show to try and discredit me and try and talk about my personal life. It was quite embarrassing to see them do that. It's really unfortunate that they had to stoop to such levels. It's cringeworthy. But I mean, I said this in the video that I made a couple of days ago. I've got a message. Oh, okay. Hi, I'm trying to log back in, John. Okay, yeah. Okay, you won't be able to log back in, actually. He's trying to log back in, so give me 1 second. I'm just going to type. So what was I saying? Yeah, I was saying in the last video. There are if this organization was as big as it says it is, it wouldn't be intimidated by me. It wouldn't need to do things like it did yesterday, like having RJ at the controls of my microphone. So I don't know if you noticed, but he kept muting my mic. I mean, it's pathetic. Come on. What if you were completely clean and above board, you wouldn't need to have to do something like this. Not only that, but look, he had an attorney question me. He didn't question me himself. He had an attorney question me. He literally had a person who is professionally trained to lie with every breath that she can muster to change the opinion of the people that is hearing what she is saying. He needed someone like that, which sort of tells me that there is something going on. I'm not going to go too deep. I want to really properly analyze this interview because forget about what was the way it was conducted. It's the way it was conducted. Sorry, that we want to look at. I don't want to look at the actual details of the interview because there wasn't much there. There was a bit of a shouting match, wasn't it? But yeah, it was their turf. It was enjoyable actually. But I just, I'm standing here thinking to myself, my gosh, these are the most influential, most powerful African ethnicity in the diaspora, and I'm reading their website and it's all broken up. All the words are broken up and it's not in proper English, and I'm like, oh my God, is this it? Please, come on, tell me this is not it. It's a shame. It's a shame. I don't want to go into it now, though. I will do a proper analysis, okay? Right, so I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to try and get Jay, I call him John, to log back in. Give me a second. If I can get him to log back in, that'll be brilliant. Because then we can continue talking. Please try again. So we are just connecting, and if we can connect, we can start asking him the questions which you guys gave to me. So how many audits are being done? I mean, these are the questions that I really wanted to ask him now, so I'm going to go through these. Me, myself, and I asked a rather good question that I'm going to bring up with him. Angel asked a good question too. Let's have a look. Hopefully he'll join again. Fingers crossed. The camera on this laptop that I'm using is not okay. This is brilliant. He's here again. Okay, let's have a look. Admit. Okay, he's back. That's fantastic. So I'm going to ask him these questions now when he comes back in. Hello, John. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm back. Yes, I'm back on again.
Fantastic.
Yes,
That's great.
I'm here.
I don't know whether it was my internet. It could have been my internet. I'm
I
sorry
wanted
about
to
that.
correct. So yeah. I wanted to correct. So it is the SEC, not the FCC, which is Securities Exchange Commission. Just anyone that we spoke on that. Okay.
Oh, okay. SEC. The SEC.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Security Exchange Commission. Yeah, Securities Exchange Commission.
Okay. Could you just tell us how many audits are being done? A lot of people are confused now. They were thinking either 2 or 3. How many audits?
Yeah.
How many audits do you think have actually been commissioned?
Yeah. So I know that there was an internal audit from the agency that they conducted. They concluded. If you were to ask me the result of that, I don't know because it was never shared to me. And then I conducted my own audit, in which bought time for another party audit to conduct. So basically, my job was to stop the bleeding, and bring in another party to basically have a conclusive audit, which it was referred to, or I guess that what's it called, the Exodus Alliance, brought themselves to conduct an audit. I never referred them. I never spoke to them to conduct the audit, but I guess that they brought themselves to do the audit after an agreement with the plaintiff. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that currently there's 3 ongoing audits. So the first one was concluded. I concluded mine, and then the third one, which is from the Exodus Alliance. Yes, so that's what I would say right now.
Okay. So we're talking 3, or 2 have been done, and there's 1 almost.
Yes, and I think a lot of this, yes, and yeah, one almost done, and hopefully we're able to see the result of that. And I don't know what the result would be, and where the report is going to be sent to. I believe that based on your interview that you had the previous day, they're going to probably send it to the authority figures. But I made my recommendation to the requesting party of the next step. Actually, I just hopefully, they are working on the next step right now.
Can I ask you, should all these reports come back the same?
Yes. It depends. It depends on the auditor. What their request is. There should be some balance. Even if it's probably a couple of $100 off or more. It should be some kind of form of a balance. But it depends on the auditor what they're requesting, what they're looking for. It also depends on who is providing that kind of information. Right. I had a specific way I did my audit on a specific agency, a specific LLC that was included in my audit. Mm-hmm. Now I know that there was a complaint in terms of why that specific LLC was included, and then there's some complaint in terms of why another agency was not included in there. But it also depends on exactly what they give us at the moment. Right. I know that the result that I submitted, that the audit that I submitted, one individual was not pleased about. They were pleased, but they felt like they extended out more. But afterwards, there's a reminder that I'm not an enforcer. I can request, and they can either provide what they have, where they cannot provide what they have. So yes, they could be where, they could extend out more, but this is what I have for my disposal.
Okay, and in the
So I
case,
believe that the next party, the figure. Sorry, so I believe that the next party, the proper authority figure, are the enforcer. So.
okay, so we're talking, in this case, we're talking about the Gambian authorities.
Yes, the Gambia authority, I believe that they will be the enforcer in terms of requesting and going through all documentation, and because, I'm pretty sure that they have their requirement, within their own jurisdiction. So they are the enforcer. I am not an enforcer. I'm just, some may consider just a regular guy, right? So right now, one of my, recommendation was to have, depending on the other party audit that they're doing, then they can either report to them, or but we have already made our discussion, our conversation to reach out to the next party to have a full, to just having that discussion of the next step.
Okay, let me ask you this: you have in the United
States. Not to mention name and just go into parables, but
yeah, I'm going to try to sort of keep it opaque. Right. So in the United Kingdom, if you have a limited liability company, and you get audited, your audit is posted publicly. Everybody, you could just go on the internet, I forgot the name of the website now, but you can see straight away. You don't have a choice in this. There's no choice. You don't get to opt out of this. So is this the same in the United States? And I'm guessing here, right, that actually I know to a certain degree that the framework of the Gambian financial services and public company underwritings, all those agencies have the same framework as the United Kingdom now. So I'm guessing here, but will it be publicly available in the Gambia? And is it the same in the United States?
Yes, some United States, depends on which states, have their own, laws in terms of filings and reports for taxes, right? For tax purposes. In terms of audit, I can't really tell you for sure because it goes state by state.
Okay.
But I know that for nonprofit, they're required to post, any documentation filing just for the purpose of the grantors or invest, or person that is just giving money to that specific agency. But in terms of a private entity, I'm not specifically sure about that. For the Gambia itself, though, I just wanted to, full disclosure, I used to also be a monitoring evaluation for the Gambia government as well years ago, but nobody really knew that.
Okay, well that explains a lot.
This is during the Jamia, President Jamia's ruling days.
Oh wow, I was there during those days. It was really nice, actually.
I monitored a lot of their nonprofits, organizations, and so that's why I'm kind of familiar with the tourism sector, and then in the language from the World Bank, industry. So anyway, so regarding to that, from the Gambia, I'm pretty sure that they have their own party, but they, most of the time they outsource it to, somebody from the, from Western country to conduct some audit.
Okay.
But I say, don't take my word for it. Just some of the experience that I've seen from my previous work.
Okay. Oh goodness. Let me ask you something else. Goodness, I didn't record this. Listen, are these people going to get their money back? That's the big question here. Will these people get their money back? The investors that have requested for their money back.
So I know that's a big question. Yeah. And I guess one of my purposes of today, I guess, was to have, I didn't really have to be in an interview, but I just wanted to be in an interview because a lot of these investors are reaching out to me. And I want to also clear my name because I believe that, while the audit was going on, people were reaching out to me. I've been watched this, I've been watched that. So like I said, I don't know what's been going on, but I'm pretty sure there have been videos about my name, put it out there that, hey, I'll be the one paying you guys. That is false. I'm not paying anybody. I don't work for any agency. I don't work for one particular agency. I don't work for any other agency. I'm just a person that came in to basically observe and stop the bleeding. And I've requested a lot for the investors. Actually, I do have a data pool of investors where they reported what they, invested in and who specifically, took their money, or who specifically, took their money when they were investing, and how much of that, and also their contracts, their investor contract that they submitted. So for the answer that you asked, to be honest, I do not know, right? I wish I had an answer, but I know that there are some discussions in terms of, the responsibility of a specific agency that were made to the investors. And that's why I don't really have an answer to that, because I believe that once the proper authority figure are able to have a conclusive auditing report, can determine whether this specific figure or this specific figure should be able to compensate the investor back. And after you have to also
No, I lost him again. I really hope he can sign back in. Oh, goodness, that's a real shame. Okay, so what was he saying? Basically, I asked him whether the investors would get their money back, and once again, the answer is I don't know. He doesn't know whether the investors will get their money back. There are a few questions on here that I'm going to be able to answer once I review the audit myself, which I am going to be able to possibly get my hands on in the future. Let's see. I will be able to get a hold of some information about that to answer how many people actually lost money. I can tell you now, Art Cathy's mother has lost money. I'm not going to give you an exact number, but it was quite a sizable amount, which is a crying shame, really. It really is, it really kills me that it seems as if the senior citizens and the middle-aged people, the guys who should be thinking about retiring there on the beach in the Gambia, it's those people who are being hit. So that is a shame. I'm going to read some of your questions. What previous acquaintances does RJ have with Art Cathy and Kwesi Boyd? Okay, well, I think we answered this one yesterday. Let's have a look. Join from browser. Okay, so I'm going to try and get him to sign in once more time. Can you try again? Let's have a look. New meeting. Come on. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to try and get John to come back in. So we can try and answer the rest of these questions because they're quite important. My internet's actually really good. It should be really strong here, so I don't quite know what's going on. It just keeps sort of cutting off. But Lioness Afrique, I'm going to ask your questions. And yes, Yashai Avram, I'm going to ask him specifically about the accounts, the frozen accounts. I'm going to ask him how much money is in there. I don't think he's going to be able to answer it, but it's important that we are tongue-in-cheek and we ask these questions. Let's see what he says. Hopefully. Jonathan, he should be here. Let's have a look. I'm still connecting. Come on. Hello? Come on. Yeah, it's still connecting. What else? So, unfortunately, it's not really looking good for the people who have invested their money. But I think it's important that we realize this. Once you invest money in projects like this in Africa, investors generally don't tend to... There isn't a money-back guarantee on investments anywhere. Your president, Trump, your president. No, I shouldn't say that. Trump was really good at doing something. The same as Warren Buffett. Billionaires are billionaires for a reason. It's because they don't ever use their own money to fund projects, to invest money into certain business and stuff. They never use their own money. They would never do that. They borrow money from somewhere else to mitigate risk, and then they put it into whatever company, and if it fails, they're just like, and they'll just move on to the next investment. So, guys, you got to here we go. You got to realize that that's pretty much the way it is. Investments don't work like, well, if it doesn't work, then I'll keep my receipt and I get my money back. I'm sorry, I'm afraid. In general, it does not work that way. And if Art Cathy and Kwesi Boyd has told you that, then they were fibbing, unfortunately. I'm going to try and do this once more time. If it doesn't work, then unfortunately I'm going to have to leave it there, and hopefully he'll email me. Okay, it's taking a while. Okay, he's trying to log back in. Okay, what's going on with this Zoom network, huh? It's ridiculous. Anyway, so, here we go. Yep, here we go. And we are okay. Okay, you can join. Okay. Okay, admit. There we go. And he is back. Well done. Hello? Hello, mate.
Yes, hello?
How you doing? I'm sorry about that once again. I lost you again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Loud and clear.
No, it's okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to
Perfect. So I can't remember exactly where I left off.
Yeah, I can't either, if I need to be honest with you. But I'm going to ask you another question that one of my subscribers has asked, and it's about the frozen accounts. Did you manage to take a look at the frozen accounts?
Sure.
Okay. I'm not.
I'm not. I'm not too familiar with that. Which
I don't know how.
Which frozen account?
Yeah, I don't know how Phoenix Rain managed to do this, but I don't know how Phoenix Rain managed to do this, but she managed to freeze a number of accounts and the money that is in those accounts, and apparently it's quite a substantial amount of money, which I think a lot of people will be happy about, simply because a lot of people are asking for their money back, and of course this leaves room open for that to happen if these anomalies are the case. How much faith do you have in the Gambian government coming to a fair conclusion about all this?
I don't know if I can answer that question, but I always give everybody a chance. I always give everybody a chance. Either it was the plaintiff or the defendant or one of those external auditing agency. I give everybody a chance. But then we also have to be careful how we determine that chance. Is it based on our own ideas of what the results should look like? Right?
Yeah.
I always believe in fairness and also openness and just be, and truthful. Even if the truth does hurt. I've spoken to all parties, how I truly felt about, what was going on, and how, I was just being truthful about it. So I'm always giving everybody a chance to basically come up with their own solution or ways, but we also have to be careful in how we identify what that looks like, so that we don't, bring in our own ideas, and then, at the end of it all, be angry because, we didn't get the right result. Even if the result not favor one party, I believe that the process, it should be fair and it should be done right.
Yeah. There is still a chance that a criminal investigation might happen. What do you think the chances are of that happening?
Can't comment on that.
Okay.
I can't comment on that. I think that that is not my job or my role. My role is that of just investors. Whatever whatever happens, either individually, the individual investor can take it up to their own courts, or it's on them. But I just cannot comment on that because there's so many moving parts to this issue. Right? There's too many moving parts to the issue. And I wish that this issue ended, where everybody just go their way in a fair manner. But I believe that, investors deserve the chance to know what happened, or, what transpired with their money. And, and in terms of coming up with a judgment on who they're right, who they're wrong, I think that should be done, in a fair manner, and in terms of the accountability set part of that, I'm not a judge. Do I have my own opinion on what should happen? Of course, but I'm a social worker, I'm a mental health therapist, so also understand everybody's perspective.
So yeah. How many investors were there? You don't have to be exact.
Look here. See, let me see. Yeah, I'm just going to looking at this. It's been a while. We haven't looked at this. I believe it would end. I think maybe perhaps 60 to 100.
Oh, okay.
Investors, but I cannot include this margin because there are some reports out there, and mind you that there was some agency that where audit were not conducted, so I can't really determine what happened, what transpired prior to the legal filing of the LLC. There might have been investors that invested the money, probably last year for the specific project. I'm not aware about because those were not reported to me. And what I would say is that my report shows I'm looking at dollar that were brought in within the middle of the year from the investors, but this is based on documentation and receipt that was submitted to me. Like I said, there may have been some other dollars or amount that was submitted to the party which I am not aware of, and thus I believe that this is to their proper authority to enforce the issue and getting all the documentation submitted.
Okay.
So they can have a conclusive. I do believe they might have been, but like I said, I can't say much to that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, thanks for that anyway.
Also, we have to be careful as well. But also, we have to be careful as well. We have to be careful as well because for every dollar that was submitted, we don't know exactly for which services in which those dollars should have been appropriated, either through the investment, real estate investment, either through booking, whatever that is, or either through some services that they might have had. I'm not sure, right? Because a lot of these dollars that were appropriated, some of them did not really have the identification of where should the money be appropriated towards to the service. So that's what I'm saying. When it comes to business, it's important to structure in a way that anybody can identify where the dollar is going to for what reason and if the dollar were appropriated.
Okay. I mean, you have what, almost, you said 100 investors, somewhere around that? I know some of the numbers, of course, right? I know some of the numbers.
Lower than, lower or within.
Yeah.
Low, either lower than 100 or more than 100. That's the ball figure. Like I said, some I'm not sure it's somewhere off the record or not. I'm not. I just conducted what I see.
Give me your honest opinion on Art Cafe.
Let's just say we have been Facebook friends for a while, and I believe my sister might have some form of relationship with her, but I have spoken to her once actually after the audit was completed, but I don't. Everybody has their own model or method of doing things, right? Some might work for somebody, some might not work for somebody. But I'm not sure a specific question is in relation to the business sector or just the personal service that she provides. I'm not sure exactly which.
Personal.
To answer from her. Personal.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all he says, she says. I'm not sure.
Now you must have.
I think that.
You must have seen the video, right? The videos that she's been making.
Well, not really. So there's a lot of video that she makes, but I don't watch video. I don't watch. I try not to watch videos too much of them. I try not to. Even with hers, I think that when it talks about eating habits, I think that's a pretty good situation. To cleanse the body and all that. But when it comes to other parts, I try not to get myself involved. It's specifically what I'm looking for. I think that with her was more about the healthy eating. That's what I was mostly interested with her on. The other part, no. I mean, I'm not specifically keen or interested in that. But in terms of her personally, I like I said, I deal with people on a regular basis as a therapist. I see probably 20 clients a week. And everybody has their own personality. Everybody their own personality, and and I as a therapist, it's illegal for me to make an assessment of a person. so I can't really do that.
No, that's absolutely no problem. I'm going to just check and see.
So as you can see, I wear multiple hats.
But that's a good thing, right? It's great to be multifaceted in 2020, as you can see. And happily, 2020 is now closing to an end. I just don't have a good feeling about 2021, which is not a good thing. I think a lot of this, what's even happening here in the Gambia, I have a feeling this is going to carry on for quite some time. Personally, how long do you think until the process of all these audits is going to take? How long do you reckon it's going to take?
Here's the deal. This is what I believe. I believe that right now, I believe that because there are many moving parts, many moving people, I think that I recommended that, if my reports should be added or used as an evidence, sure, I think that now it's up for the party to basically reach out to the legal authority in the Gambia.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that point on, take it to the next level, right? So I think this is probably the best time, if the alliance perhaps, have their own report that they want to submit to the authority, sure, be my guest. But, I think that the agencies that has the power to basically move this issue forward, and get an answer for the investors, I think that should be made now. Mm-hmm. So, I can't really talk more about whether that's been advanced or not, but I think that should be made now. Just because there's too many moving parts, uncertainty from who is doing what, even with my audit as well, right? So, which, I accept, I'm fine with that. And I encourage to have an external person, no party. It doesn't matter whether from a company or organization, but the final goal destination was from the proper agency,
Mm-hmm.
the proper authority figure, to look at what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
But I think that if there was a mediation, just say example, if there was a mediation from both parties in which, could say, what, this is what's going on, and this is what I observed, this is what I heard, how to move forward so that this doesn't have to go to the next level. I think that was the whole idea. That was the whole idea. That was the whole idea with reaching out to, either to me or to the Exodus. That was the idea, to keep it in-house and try to solve the issue, either to, disperse those money back to the investors, right? But I think that because there's so many moving parts, that cannot be done right now, mm-hmm. Unfortunately, right? Because I believe that, we can solve issues. I mean, the main idea of all this, diaspora moving into the continent, creating their own community, is to solve issues within in-house. But it seems to me that because there's a lot of skepticism on who's doing what or who's doing whatever that is, then the next step is basically, who's call the police or call the government or all of that, right? So that means we're still actually relying back into the structure, the power structure itself at the end of the day, mm-hmm. Right? So, this is a conversation that everybody should have. Or what would their community look like at the end of the day, what would the community look like? If there's an issue within a community, how do we solve that? And I understand the monetary issues is really huge. You know, when somebody probably has their livelihood at stake, you know, from all parties, livelihood at stake, you know, and money is either being dispersed to them, you know, what kind of accountability do they have to that specific person? If there's not accountability, you know, how can we ensure that there is going to be accountability? And who is that person to enforce that? Right? Unfortunately, within the community, we don't have the enforcement. You know, we really don't have the enforcement. That's why we have to take it to that next channel. And that's what's exactly is going on right now. So I think that, you know, and I will disclose this, that my job as when I was as an investor, I was also a consultant for the Investor Locate Africa. You know, in terms of creating a community for the health, for education, and for business, right? But that never really went far. That was part of the goal, is to create a channel in which we can solve things within our system. Unfortunately, that never happened. You know, so I think that, you know, after all of this is said and done, I hope that this is, unfortunately, a model that we can all learn from all angles, right? All learn from, to basically, you know, or move forward in the next chapter, either from other agencies that are doing the same thing too. But I hope that they can learn from this situation. And I think sometimes I always look at it as that though this was bad, there's always, you know, there's always sunshine at the end of this tunnel. There's always that. And that is learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
And I hope that the community is able to accept that and say, you know what, this is what transpired before. How can I protect myself the next time I want to invest? So I know that people are asking, no, I'm not going to invest anymore in Africa. Look, you are going to miss out a lot, I believe, you know, because there are the people that are investing right now. They're probably asking the right question, you know. And I'll say that's my mistake as well, right? Because I believe, okay, well, you know, I knew, like I said, I knew that there were going to be issues here and there. But, you know, unfortunately, it came out there, you know, faster than I expected. Right, so it's about the next step. You know, what kind of question can we ask agencies that are providing services? Right, either looking at their financial reports, you know, actually being on site to see the project at hand, you know, having different references from people. These are questions, right, that should be asked from investors at the end of the day. So, you know, I know that people are upset because they, you know, they felt that they have lost money. I can't answer that question. I don't know if that's definitive or not. I cannot really answer that question.
Yeah.
I really cannot answer that question.
That's understandable. That's understandable. Okay. I mean, I suppose I could keep you here and ask you another million questions, but I didn't want to really take up that much of your time. I understand it's morning over there, so I know that there are going to be people who are going to have questions after this, which I'm going to perhaps even bring to you, and you can answer them if you wish, or if you can by email. But I'm really hoping that we can. You know, a month ago I saw light at the end of the tunnel.
And one thing I would say is that. Yeah, sorry. So one thing I wanted to say is that, you know, we are talking in terms of possibly having a investor meeting, you know. Unfortunately, I have to be part of it, you know. I mean, I don't have to, but I think that it is right. And I've talked, to be honest, I have talked to investors. I've talked to multiple, because a lot of these parties were referring those investors to me, right? And all the things that are going on in YouTube, a lot of them, you know, in YouTube or Facebook, they were referring it to me as if I have the money. You know, I don't. You know, I'm just a regular guy, an investor that, you know, making say, you know what, everybody just come up to me, you know, share your anger, frustration to me. By the end of the day, I don't have your money. You know, I'm just the guy that just was investigating, making sure things were in order so we could take it to the right channel. So I'm looking to probably have an investor meeting, you know, and basically just pour out their frustration, you know, and see the next step, you know. But I think that this has to be rightfully done within the community. But that's all I can say.
Okay. Jonathan, thank you for joining us. thank you for being able, for reaching out and giving the public and answering some really well-needed questions. I really appreciate that. We'll stay in contact, I'm sure, and hopefully we'll speak to each other when we have a final resolution.
And one thing before you, before you hang,
Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, before you hang up, I know that, and I just want to know, as a brother to a brother, I know that, there's a lot of stuff going on in YouTube, internet, or whatever. You do your job, everybody's, they're doing their job, and I think that your job is to inform people. Mm-hmm. To let people know what's going on. Mm-hmm. I commend you for doing that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I also believe that, if we are moving, and I also believe that if we are moving to the direction of the goal that we're trying to move into as a community, there needs to be, a conversation from all parties, either from the media party, right? Either from the investor party, either from the company, whatever that is, right? But I believe that when frustration are being poured out, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to end it and just be like, look, we're done, we can't talk. All parties that I did an audit with, they can still reach out to me, and I'll also answer. Even if I don't agree with some of them, I will still talk to them at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. One thing I know is that we are in this together. Unless you go back to where you came from, mm-hmm. We're all in this together. So we have to basically set the stone in how to deal with our own issue. And I think that we don't really have the model right now to come up with plans to deal with issues such as this. But I think that, like I said, this is all a learning curve of how do we move forward the next time this happens.
Yeah. I've been advising myself, I've been advising people to not just invest their money and blindly give them money to a reputable source, but to actually, if they really want to give that money to somebody that they trust, they keep the money themselves, because they can trust themselves to a big degree. Go over to Africa, go to the places that you're interested in, travel the continent, ask questions, forge relationships with the locals, do what you can first before you go shoving. People, we live in a microwave, internet, instant gratification type of society now, right? And people want, I'm going to give you money there, and I'll get some sort of payback in 6 months' time. It doesn't work that way on the African continent. You really need to be patient, and you need to do your homework, because most of the time it comes with putting your feet on the ground and speaking to people, taking the good and the bad as well, because not everybody in Africa is good, of course, and learning. This is, I think a lot of people are afraid to learn, just sit back and enjoy that experience of learning about different cultures, the thousands of ethnicities that we have in Africa. People should not focus on money. They should focus on being a part of the African experience. The money will come. Africa's a rich country, and you have a very good position as being a diasporan. You can come back, you can go, you can leave, you can do whatever you want, and you have your own contacts in the wealthier, quote unquote, wealthier Western countries. You're in a privileged position. You understand? So people should realize that they are in this privileged position, and then take it from there, I think, and really do their homework. That's what I've been advising people anyway. So they should take that, I personally think, into...
I think it's also, one last thing, and one last thing, I think that I've been watching some of them, channels, and I don't believe it's you, but, we also have to be careful, how do we convey messages on the media for prospects that are trying to move to the continent, because mind you, a lot of them are traumatized, and now they see that there's a fight within the the organization itself, then they push them back. So that's one lost opportunity one lost, member because, we are, I guess that there's all this commotion in the media. But I think that, and that's why I said there should be a balance of fairness and understanding, but also providing that positive reinforcement to the community. Being positive to the reinforcement to the community, it's an asset that we need to exercise. It's a power that we need to exercise, right? It's a power we need to exercise because some yearn for that, but they don't hear it because they always hear the negative side of things, right? So I think that psychologically it does have a major impact on how people move and how people want to make, decision, even if it's you want to make informed question, quote unquote, is informed decision, right? But when we have a lot of negative things going on, it is discouraging to them because it's re-traumatizing them based on their own experiences. So it's not necessarily lying about what's going on in their continent, but it's basically giving them hope. Giving them hope that though this is their current challenges here, these are things that are happening here as well. We may need to explore. But that's the last thing I would say.
Okay. Well, thanks again for your input. It's been really, really good to hear from you. And perhaps we will have touch base again later on in the future and see where we've gotten to with this process. Sure. Okay. Sure. Once again, thank you very much for joining me. And
you're very welcome. Thank you very much.
Take care, and I'll speak to you very soon.
No problem.
Take care.
No problem.
Bye. Let's have a look. Yep, perfect. So, as you can hear, I think I'm going to take his advice, basically. It's time now that we try to resolve things. This has been going on for too long. Like I said in the video the other day, in my live video, I was kind of happy to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And when the Exodus Alliance got involved, they just threw open the doors once again and made things... they didn't make things easier, they made things more difficult because they weren't totally transparent about their relationships with Crazy Boyd and Art Cathy. So this has really made the story a lot more convoluted than what it should have been. Anyway, I don't want to go too deep into analysing this. I'm going to allow you guys to take out of it as you will. Let's talk about this in the comments section. Tell me what you got out of this one, out of this phone call with the auditor himself. Now, listen, I didn't want to, I couldn't tell you his name, couldn't put him on the screen, so just to safeguard him. And really, once again, if he's listening, thank you very much for coming on board. So that's all we've got time for today. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for supporting me as well.